All right, so we're diving deep into green finance today.
Yeah, should be fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pretty hot topic. And honestly, it's kind of reshaping how we think about investing
Yeah.
and, well, the future of the planet.
No, yeah, for sure.
It's a big deal. Like, just to give you an idea of the scale of the green bond market, just hit over $500 billion in 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, that's from the Climate Bonds Initiative.
That's incredible. And it really highlights how much this idea of green finance, redirecting those funds, those investments towards companies and projects that are really focused on a sustainable future is taking off.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the first thing is, what exactly are we talking about when we say, like, green finance?
Right. So basically, green finance is any sort of financial activity that's meant to specifically support environmental goals.
Uh,
So think investments in things like renewable energy or sustainable agriculture, even companies that are all about being really efficient with their resources, that kind of thing.
So it's not just like those green bonds you hear about all the time.
No, no, it's way broader than that. Green bonds are a part of it, sure. But there's also things like carbon trading.
Oh, yeah, carbon trading.
Mhm.
How does that even work?
Okay, so imagine it kind of like a cap and trade system. Governments, they decide on a total limit for carbon emissions.
Right. Noted.
So then companies that pollute less, they can actually sell like permits to the ones that pollute more to allow them to keep emitting.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a way to incentivize the companies to pollute less?
Yeah, exactly. It's a market-based approach to try and cut down on those emissions.
Interesting. So, like, let's say a company, I don't know, invests a lot in renewable energy and their emissions go way down.
Right. They could then sell those extra permits, maybe to a manufacturing company that's having a harder time lowering their footprint.
That makes sense. And then there's, what is it, ESG investing. I hear that a lot, but
Right, yeah.
I'm not really sure what it is in practice.
So ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. It's about factoring those things into your investment decisions. So you're not just looking at how much money a company makes, but also like their carbon footprint, how they treat their workers, and things like their corporate governance structure.
Huh. So it's like a triple bottom line.
Hmm.
People, planet, and profit.
Exactly. And more investors are really paying attention to it these days.
Makes sense. Tesla's a good example, right?
Yeah, great example. Obviously, everyone knows them for their electric cars,
Right.
but they're also really big on renewable energy and sustainable manufacturing processes. So they have a really high ESG score, which attracts investors who are looking for, good financial returns, a positive impact.
So it sounds like green finance is really gaining traction.
Oh, yeah.
But did it kind of just appear out of nowhere? Is there some, like, history behind it?
Well, sustainable investing has actually been around for a while, but it really took off recently. I think the Paris Agreement back in 2015 was a huge turning point. That was when like almost 200 countries committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and trying to limit global warming. And that really, I think, put the spotlight on green finance.
Okay. So we're seeing a surge in green finance initiatives. But, like, why should the average person care? What's the real impact?
Well, I think it's about trying to tackle some of the biggest issues we face today, right?
Okay.
Like climate change, for instance. By investing in, say, renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure, we can hopefully reduce the risks of things like extreme weather events or rising sea levels or even just resource scarcity.
Right. But some people would say it's really just about profit, right?
Yeah.
That companies are just using green finance to make more money.
Yeah, profit is definitely always a factor, but I think more and more businesses are realizing that sustainability is crucial for them to succeed in the long run. Companies that ignore these environmental and social risks, well, they're just opening themselves up to more problems down the line. Reputational damage, fines, consumers getting upset.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being good, it's about being smart, too.
So green finance is a win-win. Good for the planet, A&D, good for business.
That's the goal, yes. But it's not without its challenges.
Right. Like what?
Well, greenwashing, for one.
Ah, yeah, greenwashing. That's where...
Yeah, that's when a company makes claims about how eco-friendly they are, but they're really not.
Right. It's like they're trying to take advantage of the green finance trend without actually changing anything.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of standardized ESG reporting.
Okay.
There's no like universal framework to measure how a company is doing on ESG, so it's hard to compare investments and make sure everything's transparent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's definitely still work to be done to make sure green finance is really effective and not just a marketing tactic.
Right, right. So how can people get involved if you're not Like a financial whiz, what can you do?
Oh, there are tons of ways to get involved, no matter your background. You could look into ESG-focused mutual funds or ETFs.
Oh, okay. What are those?
They basically pool money from different investors to buy a bunch of sustainable companies. It's a good way to diversify.
So it's a good way to like dip your toes into green finance
Yeah.
without having to do a ton of research yourself.
Exactly. And there are also these platforms and apps designed to make sustainable investing easy for everyone.
Okay.
Like some let you invest your spare change in green projects,
Oh,
or you can choose specific causes to support, like renewable energy or clean water initiatives.
so you don't have to be a Wall Street mogul to make a difference.
Not at all. And if you're a little more adventurous, you can check out green bonds.
Green bonds, yeah.
Those are bonds issued by governments or corporations to raise money for environmentally friendly projects.
Right, right. What about like actual businesses? How can they get involved?
Well, they can try to secure funding for renewable energy projects
Mhm.
or implement energy efficiency measures in their buildings.
Yeah.
And there's adopting circular economy models, basically reducing waste and resource consumption. And they can look into carbon offset programs, too, to make up for any emissions they can't avoid.
So it sounds like everyone has a chance to be part of this green finance thing.
Definitely. It's not just for, finance people.
So what about the future of green finance? Anything exciting on the horizon?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the renewable energy sector is just exploding right now. We're
Yeah.
seeing huge advancements in solar, wind, battery storage, all that stuff. Clean energy is becoming more affordable and accessible all the time.
And electric cars are getting really popular.
Yeah. That market is growing so fast, partly because of government incentives, but also just people wanting greener transportation.
It really feels like things are changing fast.
Yeah.
So what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to take away from this?
Green finance isn't just a trend. It's a whole new way of thinking about finance and how it can help us build a sustainable future.
I like that.
It's about making choices with your money that align with your values and understanding that investing in a healthy planet is actually a smart financial move, too.
That's a great point. So the question is, what kind of impact do you want to have? How will you use your money to help create a greener, more sustainable future? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into green finance.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you found it insightful and are maybe even inspired to take some action.